The only documents that can be found in my garage are the stack of magazines that I'm hiding from my children.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of A Very Odd Caster. Now, the big news this week are the documents, the scandal about the documents in Biden's garage. But I'm not going to really spend any time on that because we have a policy here on A Very Odd Caster not to delve into partisan politics. Because if we do delve into partisan politics, we get electric shock like this. So, don't want that to happen. So instead, it's been a while that I've looked at some of the other news stories, and I'm going to go back a few weeks and look at some of the very odd news that's going on in the country and, in fact, all across our fine world. The Bureau of Labor Statistics released a new study showing that lumberjacks are the happiest, least stressed, and most fulfilled workers, particularly since they began pressing wildflowers, putting on women's clothing, and hanging around in bars. If you don't know what I'm referring to, I feel sorry for you. What are some other stories? There's a lot of stuff that caught my eye. A 50-year-old Texas sleazeball is facing felony charges for posing as a doctor and offering unsuspecting female patients free gynecological services. The man advertised his services, which included pap smears and vaginal irrigation, in a weekly Dallas newspaper, and ran his scam from an office at a self-storage facility. I'm not sure what the world's coming to. First there's fake news, now there's fake gynecologists. A Florida man is facing a felony charge for allegedly striking a female Dollar Tree employee who called his wife a Karen during a dispute over grocery bags, according to court records. Police were dispatched around 8:20 p.m. on the Wednesday in question to the discount store in Clearwater, following an alleged battery on the 20-year-old worker. According to investigators, Genesis Sanchez Canales, the Dollar Tree employee, got into an argument with a female customer over grocery bags. The customer eventually began to videotape the victim due to the verbal argument. An arrest affidavit states, in response to being filmed, Canales called the woman a Karen. At this point, cops allege, the customer's husband open-hand slapped the victim to her left cheek. When officers responded to the store, they arrested Jason Allen Dobbins, age 41. Since Dobbins has a prior battery conviction, he was charged with a felony for allegedly striking Canales. But look on the bright side. Since the incident took place in a Dollar Tree store, Dobbins was released on bail for $1. Here's a good one. A jury recently convicted a Michigan man of aggravated indecent exposure for using a Tickle Me Elmo doll to masturbate while he was inspecting a residence on behalf of a potential purchaser. The man, Kevin Van Loven, yes, his name is Van Loven. Give me Van Loven. Give me Van Loven. Give me that Elmo. Kevin Van Loven was found guilty of the misdemeanor following a one-day trial in Oakland County Circuit Court. The jury acquitted Van Loven of malicious destruction of property, which is also a misdemeanor. The indecent exposure count carries a maximum penalty of 2 years in prison and a $2,000 fine. Van Loven, who works as a home inspector, was arrested last year after the owners of a suburban Detroit home contacted cops to report that a nanny cam recorded Van Loven loving himself inside the residence with a Tickle Me Elmo doll. So the guy's attracted to Sesame Street characters. I mean, who hasn't thought about Big Bird in that way from time to time? And what would the news be without some kind of a woke story? A female minor in San Diego is speaking out against the YMCA's transgender inclusion policy after the girl encountered a naked man while showering in the women's locker room recently. 17-year-old Rebecca Phillips. By the way, if we're so concerned about her being a minor, why are we putting her name in the paper? Is this a form of doxing? Or does the girl want glory? Who's at fault here? Everybody, of course. Anyhow, so 17-year-old Rebecca Phillips was showering at the Santee facility after her swim workout when she noticed a naked man in the women's locker room. Phillips immediately went back into the shower terrified and hid behind the curtain until he was gone. This is what she told the Santee City Council. Phillips then ran into the bathroom stall to quickly change before confronting the people at the YMCA front desk about the situation. Phillips warned of potential child endangerment, noting, "This is the YMCA, a place where hundreds of children spend their summer afternoons in childcare camps." Good point. YMCA personnel confirmed to her that the facility's transgender policy allows men to shower in the women's locker room as long as they're not registered sex offenders. In other news, Patrick the panda escaped from the San Diego Zoo today, and there's no telling where he went. This next story takes us to the state of Florida. Poinciana, Florida, to be exact. Never heard of it. 2 people in Florida were arrested after one of them made a 911 call to get help with moving their belongings from a home they were burglarizing. Deputies responded to a home Saturday after a 911 call was made, but nobody spoke, the Polk County Sheriff's Office said. At the home, the deputies concluded that nobody lived there, but they found a male suspect and his girlfriend inside the home after entering it through an unlocked door. Deputies had been searching for the male suspect after identifying him from security video as a burglar at a Dollar General store in Poinciana, Florida, where several items were stolen earlier in the day. Poinciana is about 35 miles or 55 kilometers, because I go by kilometers. No, I don't. 35 miles south of Orlando. So that answers our question as to where the hell Poinciana, Florida is, right? 35 miles south of Mickey and Daffy. Anyway, back to the story. While talking to deputies, the female suspect told them that she had called 911 for the purpose of having law enforcement help them move their belongings from the house they were burglarizing. They also wanted to get a ride to the airport so they could spend the weekend in New York, the sheriff's office said. Well, that's something you don't see every day. Florida in the news for something odd. Next we go north to New York City, where Mayor Eric Adams vowed Wednesday to fight his own city hall again after he was ticketed for having rats at his Brooklyn townhouse. A city health department inspector had issued 2 new summonses last month, just one day after the Democratic mayor appeared remotely before a hearing officer on December 6th to get a $300 summons for rats at his property dismissed. Well, there's certainly an odd couple for you, huh? A politician and rats. Next, we go overseas for some international news. South Korea has formally lifted a ban on the import of full-body sex dolls, ending years of debate over how much the government can interfere in private life. Although there are no laws or regulations banning the import of sex dolls, full-body sex dolls, I might add, there's really no sex doll like a full-body sex doll, is there? So although there's no laws or regulations against this, hundreds and perhaps thousands have been seized by the customs, which cited a clause in the law that bans the import of goods that harm the country's beautiful traditions and public morale, or moral. Public moral. Never heard that term before. But then again, I've never been to South Korea either. Importers complained and took their case to courts, most of which agreed with them and ordered customs to release the sex dolls. Release the dolls. Release the dolls. Release the... So they ordered customs to release the dolls, saying they are used in people's private spaces, we assume, and don't undermine human dignity. Somewhere out there, Keith Olbermann is smiling. Oh. We're coming out of the holiday season, but there were a couple of Christmas-themed odd stories, which I'd like to share. This one comes to us from the lovely town of Phoenix, Arizona. Not Winslow, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona. And this is from the Associated Press, and the writer's getting kind of cute here. He or she writes, "The Grinch came early for an Arizona driver who tried to pass off an inflatable figure of the Dr. Seuss character as a passenger. The Arizona Department of Public Safety says a state trooper last week noticed a car in a high occupancy vehicle lane on Interstate 10 in Phoenix with a suspicious looking green passenger. Get it? Suspicious? I love wit. While the gag may have caused the officer's heart to grow, get it again? It did not stop the driver from getting cited for being in the HOV lane during a restricted time. The agency, however, could not help but post a photo of the Grinch figure with the driver's face blurred. What if it's normally blurred? What do you do if someone's face is normally blurred? Do you sharpen the focus when you put I don't know. Anyhow, they put it on Twitter. Of course. Officials say they appreciate the festive flair, but that the driver's action was still illegal. They are urging motorists to follow traffic laws. When asked how he felt about getting the citation, the driver of the vehicle said, "It stinks, stank, stunk." Thank you. I'll be here every Thursday. Here's another Christmas-themed odd story. This takes place in the lovely town of Shepherdsville, Kentucky. A Cousin Eddie display in Kentucky apparently looked a little too real, and police were called to check it out. After receiving the call, a dispatcher described the scene to responding officers as a male standing outside. He is naked. He has a robe covering part of his body. He is exposing himself, and he has a hose between his legs. Officers arrived at the Shepherdsville home to find a mannequin in the yard that looked like Cousin Eddie from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It was decorated with a robe, a hat, a cigar, and a beer, and was holding what appeared to be an orange hose. Homeowner Joni Keeney said she decided to put up the display from her favorite Christmas movie just to have some fun. "Everybody has a Cousin Eddie in their family. Everybody," said Joni. Well, not everyone, Joni. I don't have a Cousin Eddie in my family, but I do have this. And the North Dakota woman who last fall brought a raccoon to a bar has gotten probation. Now, we covered this back when it happened, and so that means, to kind of get reacquainted with that story, it's time for a Very Odd Caster flashback. This next story comes to us from Maddock, North Dakota. A woman who brought a wild raccoon into a North Dakota bar was arrested, facing criminal charges for possibly exposing the patrons to rabies. Aaron Christensen, age 38, is charged with misdemeanor counts of providing false information to law enforcement, tampering with physical evidence, and unlawful possession of fur bearers. Christensen later said her family found the raccoon on the side of the road about 3 months ago and named it Rocky. Well, I think it's time for a song. Christensen took Rocky to the Maddock Bar on September 6th during happy hour and showed the raccoon to customers. Bartender Cindy Smith said the animal never bit anyone at the bar, unlike Frank Jones down at the end of the bar. Nevertheless, North Dakota's Health and Human Services Department issued a warning asking anyone who may have been bitten or had contact with the raccoon's saliva to seek medical care. It's illegal under North Dakota Board of Animal Health laws to keep a wild raccoon. Authorities euthanized the animal and it tests negative for rabies. They euthanized it? It didn't even have rabies? Oh, Jesus. Come on, man. It's not the damn raccoon's fault the dumb drunk lady took it to a bar. Jesus. God, I was having fun with that. That kind of bums me out. And last, a 19-year-old motorist who admitted driving his Honda 120 miles an hour on an Iowa interstate told police that he floored the vehicle because a good song came on his stereo, according to a court complaint. Because of course, who doesn't step on the gas when a good tune comes on the radio? 120 miles an hour, I know, it's kind of weird. But you know, speeding and whatnot, and brushes with the law on traffic matters, reminds me of another stupid ass thing from my childhood. Well, actually, it was when I was 19, the same age as this dude, who gets a little too jacked when he hears a good song on the radio. But this was a little more bizarre. So, me and a few of my good buddies were at a festive party, and I believe it was around the holidays. And it was late. So, fun had been had most of the evening, and I was driving. And so we left the party and ostensibly to start heading home, but I went the wrong way on the highway and wound up in downtown Cleveland, Ohio in the middle of the night. And there, adventure awaited. So we were driving around kind of lost and whatnot, and saw these very well-dressed women standing out in the street, and I thought, oh, hey guys, why don't we ask these ladies how to get back on the highway, right? You with me here? So we pulled off to the side of the road, and the ladies were wearing very high heels and very tight dresses. And they wiggled on over and they tried climbing in the car, and they really, so, you know, this was in the era before GPSs and before cell phones, actually. You know, there was a period like that, believe it or not. So these ladies were trying to be helpful, and they were trying to be so helpful, they were trying to climb in the car. And they had a few other ideas, of which I'd rather not discuss. And just then, I hear whoop, 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 and I see flashing blue lights pulling up behind. So just instinctively, we pushed the navigators in the high heels and tight skirts out back onto the street, and boom, I just hit the gas and took off. Not really a smart move to do, right? This angered our law enforcement officials, and they gave chase to me. And at first I thought, well, maybe they're not following me. But then I kind of made one turn and said, yeah, So I pulled off the road and stopped. I'm like, oh, jeez. And I rolled down the window, and there is a gun on my nose. The barrel of a gun. Yes, that's right. And holy cow. So next thing you know, I'm taking a little ride, and there's two of the officers, and they had an attitude, I mean, come on. I was just asking directions, right? So, I was getting a little smart alecky because I just really felt this was a waste of time. Certainly in a urban area, there's other things to attend to than some guy asking directions to scantily clad women. So, I was 19, remember? Okay. So at one point, the cop riding in the passenger side turned around to me and said, "Why did you take off? Did you really think you could get away from us?" And I said, quote, "Well, I guess I've been watching too much Starsky and Hutch." So that used to be a crime show on TV for those of you under the age of 100. That made the officer mad, and he said, write that down, put that in the report." Well, anyhow, so, I went down, and my dad had to come down and get me, and several months later, I had a court appearance, and I got a the citation was for reckless driving or something like that. And I got a fine and whatnot. And the officer came into the courtroom, and he gave his version of the events, and he was pretty cool. He was saying that I was very polite and whatnot, and I wasn't really causing any trouble and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, right on, man. And then he said, but I should add that when I ask Mr. Castor why he took off and drove away, he said, quote, "I guess I've been watching too much Starsky and Hutch." And the courtroom burst into laughter because all of those people were over 100 years old. So that, my friends, is another stupid-ass thing from my childhood. Well, that's about it for this week. But first, I'm going to give you my quick predictions on the NFL playoffs this weekend. We've got Jacksonville at Kansas City. Kansas City's favored by 8.5 points. I got Kansas City winning that one. Cincinnati versus Buffalo. Buffalo favored by 4.5. Neither team looked good last week, but I'm going to pick the Bengals. I just got a feeling about it. To win. I don't want them to win, by the way, but I think they're gonna. I just have this feeling. Dallas at San Francisco. The 49ers are favored by 4. I got San Francisco winning and covering that. And then the Giants are 13.5 point underdogs to the Philadelphia Eagles. I got Philly winning, but I think the Giants will beat the spread. Those are my predictions. You can take them or leave them. I'll see you next time on A Very Odd Caster. And if you would like to write, please write to veryoddcaster@gmail.com. That's veryoddcaster@gmail.com. Have a great day, folks.
Artificial
ammunition, yeah, but walking high, fist the combat, crawling in the trenches, how they hide.